There we are. There it's
And
going.
welcome back to Area Nerdy 1. I am Jarrett.
And I am Jimmy, and this is the final day of Lovecraft Month.
Final days of Lovecraft.
That's right.
Yes, I did not know that doing Lovecraft Month was going to be so tedious and it's going to be hard. But thank you all for bearing with us and, of course, giving us the patience and being interested in talking about one subject.
For an entire month.
For the entire month, yes.
I mean, we've been talking about other stuff. We've been sneaking things in here and there.
Yeah, we've been slipping some stuff in there, but it's mainly been Lovecraft.
Yeah.
And I know it's a very dark and dreary subject. Existential crises and madness.
Yeah. Somehow less existential and mad than our current actual real life, though. Tell the people about the coffee. Do the coffee thing.
Yes. Though Lovecraft Month is coming to an end, but the great quality of Big Nerd Coffee Company does not. They always provide and deliver on the best coffee anyone can buy. No existential crises, no madness unless it comes to your taste buds.
That's right. It'll keep you going through that cosmic darkness that is the work week.
Yes. If any kind of job, working in a haunted mansion or going to stand for Pickman's model.
Or going to the weird backwoods of New England, apparently.
Just anywhere in New England, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, New England is apparently like the most remote haunted place that Lovecraft could come up with. Which I mean, like Maine and New Hampshire, there's tons and tons of woods apparently.
So, actually, this summer, actually late fall, early mid fall, I just changed the timeline like 3 times.
Yeah.
I actually drove from my residence in upstate New York, and I went to Maine. So I went through Vermont, and I came back down through all of New England and everything.
Yeah.
So if anybody doesn't know, we are actually from upstate New York. People always assume New York is the city.
Yeah.
I've heard that many, many times. However, nobody really knows that upstate New York is just basically woodlands.
It's
mountainous woodlands, basically.
It depends on where you go. Yeah,
Yes.
there's in like Western New York, it's a lot of hilly in like small towns, and like when you get out into the country, it's a lot of farmland. But then you get out towards Eastern New York, it is tons and tons of woods.
Yeah. So I kind of, even though I have that in the back of my mind, I'm always like laughing at people. Oh, I'm from upstate New York. Ha 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 ha. That means like not New York City.
Yeah.
I kind of had the same idea when I was going through New England. I was like, oh, it freaking Boston. Boston goes all of Massachusetts is Boston. But as you get to out of that area, like out of the Salem area, it becomes just absolute like sheer cliffs and hills covered in these dense trees and woodlands.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I could honestly see how somebody would have a sheer dread of that place because it is wild.
Yeah.
Quickly.
So one of our favorite regions is the Adirondacks. We love going hiking there.
The Dacks. The locals call it the Dacks.
The Dacks. Apparently for, centuries, basically people viewed that as like just a desolate place that people don't live.
Yeah.
It was just like a whole mountain range. It's just like, we don't. Yeah. Eventually they decided, hey, we can cut down all the trees because that's what we do. Yeah. But like, and it was about 100 years ago. But before that, it was basically a foreboding, like forbidden place that people just didn't live. So I can see where a lot of that comes from.
And another thing, I don't mean to harp on this because we just went on a tangent, but even to this day, people just get disappeared up in the woodlands of upstate New York and on the Appalachian Trail and stuff. Like it's wild up there.
To be clear, I've seen that statistic, and apparently, like 80 to 90% of the people that get lost in the woods are found. So the people going missing is not the same as completely disappearing.
Yeah.
But it is,
It's you can get lost.
Yeah.
You get off that path about 20, 30 feet, turn around. You don't find it very easily.
Yeah. No way.
But you know what is easy to find?
What?
The great taste of Big Nerd Coffee Company. It was the entire commercial right there.
You're like
the ad was that entire thing.
You're like a 1940s radio show where they're like, oh boy, we better solve the mystery. But you know what's easy to solve?
Ajax.
Which cigarettes you should smoke?
Camel provides the best flavor for those kiddies on the playground. A pack a day keeps the doctor away.
Yeah, no one bought it.
No. But Big Nerd Coffee Company, thank you for sponsoring this episode. Elder Bean is still my favorite. Even before they were actually our sponsors, I was drinking Elder Bean. I was just like, oh, cool. Lovecraft inspired stuff. I'm going to put it in my body. And I was never regretting it.
Let's see if we can't find that. Where is it? Ah, here we go. I've got. Wait
for it.
Wait. There it is. Whoop.
Elder Bean. Yep. Yeah, great artwork. And they have tons of other flavors you can choose from. All great flavors. And always the food. I go there almost exclusively for the food.
I love how we were like coordinating on that. We're like, whoop, Elder Bean.
Elder Bean. Elder Bean. Let's get a nice glean off that Elder Bean.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either. I don't know what glean.
All right, let's move on to this subject.
Let's go. Well, we got to go into the news first. So, today is the release date of Elden Ring, a new game put out by none other than George R. R. Martin.
George R. R. Martin, yeah.
He's a key figure in this. This is a RPG game based off of it kind of it sounds like it's kind of like a Dark Souls, Bloodborne kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be also a little bit more open world, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be an open world RPG. So basically almost every game that's released now is an open world RPG.
Right.
Yeah, but its release date is today. George R. R. Martin was the big person that was attached to it to help create the story and everything.
Yeah.
So that's the reviews online are actually very good. Everyone says it's a very good game, but of course, that remains to be seen upon launch date.
Yeah, there's plenty of reviews to be found for it, but it's all very personal.
Right.
One thing I was hearing pretty early on before it's released was that there was not a lot of interaction that went on with the character. Right. Like there was, like with Skyrim, there's kind of similar game where it's open world but highly fantasy based. There's a lot of like different stuff. You could interact with a bunch of different people. This one apparently was more like you find you find the boss, you hack it, you fight it. There wasn't really anything beyond that.
Basically, one of those games I like to call a boss beat battle, a boss beat game. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Blasphemy, Dark Souls is like the biggest one. There are some characters that pop up every now and again, but it's basically just boss battles. With some enemies thrown in for flavor, but it's mainly just big set piece boss battles to the next one,
right?
The next one, and the next one.
Yeah.
So I think that might be the.
But people love Bloodborne. People love Dark Souls. Yeah, like
the unforgiving games.
Yeah. So this might be the next classic. It's entirely personal, up to you. We haven't
we haven't played it at all yet.
But anything George R. R. Martin and apparently the visuals are to die for. So
quite literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. George R. R. Martin is great at world building. We're gonna have to talk about him later. However, we're gonna see how it fans out. I have no doubt that the world and the story is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. These kind of games are not my cup of tea. It just seems very stressful.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how it is. Release date today, so it's releasing on PlayStation and Xbox, and I don't know if it'll be on Steam today or not.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Next up is the Shorzy show.
What are you talking about, Jarrett?
I don't even have a chirp. Yeah. I don't have a chirp ready.
Yeah, so all my chirps are like just. I don't want to get demonetized. That's the thing. I don't want
Yeah, we can't go into that.
I'm not like clever enough to like chirp from the bench. So everything I go to is just like devastating, like out of the gate.
Yeah. Just right for the jugular.
Exactly. Like there's no like clever repartee. I'm always just like, I'm going to destroy this person's soul.
Absolutely.
All right. So
Shorzy, if anyone doesn't know, this is the spin-off show of the character Shorzy from Letterkenny, a Canadian comedy on Hulu.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty fun. It's a funny show. I have my own opinions on it. I just thing I'm worried about is like Shorzy's like a good funny character. But
can you make an entire show around him?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that today, and I was like, what's a good analogy for this? Rebel Wilson. is a really funny actress.
She's a great character actress.
She's a great character actress and a comedian. However, she does not carry movies very well or shows.
Yeah, there were a couple of shows where I'm not gonna say that
they were terrible.
They were terrible. Yeah, or I'd say that like with a little tweaking, she definitely could have. But I think they were trying to they're trying to capitalize on the character and the image that she portrays in things like Pitch Perfect.
Yeah,
yeah.
But the characters that she portrays and that everyone is really drawn to is very good in like very small doses. Like a character that accents scenes.
Yeah, and then you have the character playing the the straight person to her goofball basically. So you have like Anna Kendrick, who's like the bland person basically.
The opaque beige for everybody else to bounce off of.
Exactly.
Shorzy, I felt like as a character kind of filled. I honestly, from my point of view, because I watched all of Letterkenny, his departure from the show felt like the best part of that season. Simply because I felt like at this point all of the jokes that he was doing and all the jokes in general in Letterkenny have been kind of played out. And it's kind of like their way of saying, okay, it's time to move on to the next thing, And I think his departure from the show was just kind of like, they didn't draw a lot of attention to it. It just was like, okay, yeah, he's leaving.
Yeah.
It's kind of how it needs to be. I don't think he's going to really carry the show unless they get like some amazing writers.
Yeah.
And like they just blow it out. And it ends up being great.
I mean, it's the guys who created Letterkenny. What's the guy's name? This always happens to me. So the guy who plays Jacob Tierney, he plays Glenn.
Glenn.
Hi,
Wayne.
Yep. So he's
where's my money, bitch?
Yeah, he's like the writer, creator, director.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I love him. He kind of reminds me of Dean Pelton.
Yeah,
that would be a good multiverse matchup.
Dean Pelton versus Glenn.
Versus Glenn. Who's this? Oh my. A preacher's outfit. I haven't tried one of those yet. This ain't no outfit. This is my everyday. The thing I was actually thinking about Letterkenny today, because I was thinking about how the show is going to be. I don't think Letterkenny is like when it started. It was very interesting, and as it progressed, especially towards like season 4, it was also again very good. But the thing that I don't really like about Letterkenny is that it doesn't carry a story very well.
Yeah. So like
an arc.
It's a show about nothing, basically.
Yeah.
It's it worked really well for Seinfeld. No one loves Seinfeld.
Yeah.
But at this point, like I watched Letterkenny, like when they cut off Letterkenny, like the last season's cliffhanger, where Dirks shows up and it looks like there's going to be a big showdown at the bar or something.
Or like that's going to be the arc, like
exactly
defeating these guys to make sure that the reservation's energy drink can continue and they keep the championship and they can actually beat the shit out of Dirk some more.
Yeah, like I thought there was going to be, like you said, I thought there was going to be an arc. I thought they were going to make a story out of that, but they really just kind of fell back into it's a show about nothing.
Yeah.
Which I enjoy Letterkenny. I'll still watch it, but like I was getting really revved up for that. I thought I don't know. Do you think are they being like too cool for their own good, basically?
Well, I don't think their characters can really do too much. I mean, they're in a the small town environment doesn't lead to like a lot of like storylines.
Right.
And I mean, they're no offense to the writers of Letterkenny or people that like Letterkenny. I feel like all their jokes are pretty much the same thing every single time. It's just them repeating it and then going, and then or beating the shit out of somebody and then like the sleepover episode was very like they tried to do something new and it wasn't very good. I think they've kind of at this point they've kind of like run out and they really should have done more arcs.
Yeah, I don't mind that they have this a certain type of humor or that the characters don't change that much, but I'd like to see them put into more different situations rather than just random stuff happens.
Instead of like going like the random situation is that they go to the city or something, which is what every sitcom does. Like goes to New York City or some shit. I think they don't need to like have their characters change a whole lot or do anything, but they do like I agree with you. I think they need to be able to do something instead of just like sitting around. there's a show that our parents watch. It's also Canadian. It's called Corner Gas.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's a fun little sitcom.
It's a super cozy sitcom. It's like a nice cup of tea base of a sitcom.
Exactly. But Letterkenny always did where that show is very cozy and it doesn't have a lot of emotional moments. But Letterkenny actually shines really well when it has like something to say. Like it doesn't have to be political or super deep, but just lets their characters like show emotion. And I feel like if they did not like a ton of that, but just like a little bit more, it'd be more interesting. Because I thought like on the season, not this last season, but the season before, I thought Wayne was going to cheat.
Right. Yeah.
On Rosie. Like, not because like he was a bad person, but the point is that he's not he tries to be the good old boy, and there aren't any good old boys because it's not something that is sustainable.
Right. So like that whole thing with like, all the interactions he had with Dirks and the strippers and stuff. It's like, okay, it's like, okay, it's playing off of, that character and his values and stuff, and like, but it just didn't amount to anything story wise. Yeah.
I mean, it does. Again, it led into some really good jokes, and like I really like that, and the chirping and everything. But this kind of goes into Shoresy as well, that they've kind of been playing around the whole same thing, and Shoresy doesn't have a ton of emotional and philosophical things to say.
No, he just insults people.
Yeah, he just insults people. Like I kind of would want to watch a show like that, like Shoresy, but at the same time, I feel like I would sit down and I would get bored very quickly.
Yeah.
Like with Letterkenny, it's the jokes are over and over, same over and over again. But there was a lot of things that they were talking about, like when Stuart had a problem with the dark web, or like when like first season when he was like on having a really bad drug problem and stuff,
Or when Hard Right Jay shows up.
Hard Right Jay, that was a great little arc.
Yeah,
I did like that. They just needed to do some better arcs.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. Well, again, we'll see how it is. Yeah. But what's next?
The House of the Dragon versus Lord of the Rings.
Oh, this is a versus battle. Then I gotta. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, this is a versus.
Well, let's get these graphics going because holy shit.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh geez.
Oh beans.
Hold on. Wait.
Why don't you? Yeah. Oh my God.
Okay. Nobody panic.
Nobody panic. Everyone, just calm the fuck down. All right. So, oh my God.
I got like 150 graphics up here. I'm trying to wrangle.
Yeah. All right.
There we go.
Good. Awesome. So, Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, probably I would argue is the biggest and most popular book series about fantasy war ever.
Yeah. So I'd say definitely, Rings. Lord of the Rings takes the top spot for the best fantasy movie ever. Game of Thrones takes the top spot for best fantasy TV show ever.
Seasons 1 through 6.
All right. What? Let's not split hairs. God damn it.
Yeah. So. If you are not caught up, so House of the Game of Thrones ended, and there was not there. It was very interesting because there were no shows and no real TV movie series that could fill the spot of Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
at all.
They tried to make it Westworld. That didn't work out.
Yeah. I mean, Westworld was kind of popular, but it was just like it wasn't a
phenom.
A phenom. Game of Thrones was really a lightning in a bottle. The thing, they always talk about water cooler stuff. That was the place of sports and world events and news. Game of Thrones broke all of that. Everybody's mom was talking about Game of Thrones.
And I don't think this gets talked about enough. Mm-hmm. The houses and the sigils let people have a team. They let people. Mm-hmm. First of all, it's highly, highly merchandisable. You can plaster fucking Targaryen symbols on T-shirts, on mugs, whatever.
And they look cool.
We bought them all.
Oh, yeah.
We bought, every Christmas, we bought Game of Thrones stuff.
House Bolton.
And it let people have a side. They could, show up with their Targaryen T-shirts.
The only other... I was thinking about this, too. The only time that any other series has come close to that was Team Jacob and Team Edward.
Exactly. That's what they... Yeah, I think that... I don't think enough attention gets paid to that because I think it's a very powerful marketing tool. Yeah. Is you get to symbolize and represent a team basically. You can be Team Stark, Team Targaryen, Team Lannister, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. you get to have your favorite and argue at the water cooler over who's better.
Exactly, and the characters were what the Rings kind of lacked was they were they were not simplistic. They were very three-sided, three-dimensional. They grew as characters. It was very interesting.
And you cannot like them.
Yeah, you can not like Jaime Lannister for the entirety of the show, and then you start to sympathize, and then you could still hate him.
I mean, that's the thing that did that very well. You can sympathize with characters, but still hate their guts and realize that they are terrible people.
Yeah, and like the bad guys in Game of Thrones are like real people, like characters see them all the time. Like, but in Lord of the Rings, no one actually sees Sauron.
Right.
At all.
Right. He's the unseen, unknowable evil, basically.
And
it's very cut and dry. It's like, okay, the good guys are humans and elves, and like the bad guys are orcs. You can definitely pick those guys out of a crowd versus, Game of Thrones. Literally everyone's a bad guy and everyone's a good guy at like various points.
I would actually like to see a cut of Lord of the Rings where nothing that a character doesn't see, like the shots of Sauron or anything else, that doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, see, that would be a bad movie. But, like, because Sauron's not a character. He's not there. He's not really a presence. He's only kind of there once in a while when Frodo puts on the ring, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So, essentially, when Game of Thrones ended, there's nothing.
Right.
The void is there. There have been some contenders to that. A lot of Netflix shows have come and gone.
They tried, like, The Witcher looked like it might be about to take that spot, but really it was just kind of
It's a high-budget sci-fi show.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, so it was, and I think that especially like right after, like right as the show was starting to decline and they like knew when it was going to end, they were like looking for something to replace that.
Yeah, and there really, really wasn't.
Yeah.
But enter the Rings of Power.
Yep.
I can't tell you what the breakdown is for each episode. It's insane. It's like almost 250 million per episode.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's a massive, massive amount of money.
Yeah. And here's the thing that they're not going to be able to recoup that money.
Not at all.
No. Like, even if it was going on Hollywood, usual business model, like chances of them recouping that money would be very small. But it's a streaming service, so it's pretty flat the way that they are able to rake in money, and basically they're probably going to see a bump of people who are like interested, like first time buyers, but like once they have people on board, there's not going to be a massive spike. You can't invest tons of money in a streaming show and expect a massive return on investment.
Right. And the thing is too is that there's kind of a concept where creative freedom, if you have an unlimited budget on something, your creativity goes down.
Yeah.
So like a lot of things that people like about Lord of the Rings, like a lot of the scenes, a lot of character moments were done out of necessity rather than being able to afford it. Now the Rings of Power has all the budget in the world, but it seems like even from the trailer, it seems so soulless. It seems so empty.
Well, here's another thing, like. With Lord of the Rings, you watch the behind the scenes of that. Like you can tell these people liked each other. They cared about each other in the cast and on the crew, and they were having a good time. Yeah. And they're camping out in New Zealand in costume and shit. And
you know what my favorite story from that is?
What?
So Peter Jackson and some crew were going out with Viggo Mortensen to do a shot.
Yeah.
During the early morning, just him and it was like this very small shot, but they were like by this lake. And they kept having to do it over, and then like eventually all of the cast trickled in. So it was supposed to be just like a small crew of like 10 people and Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah,
it ended up being the entire cast just there barbecuing and having a cookout and just having a great time. I don't really get that with this.
Yeah, that's again we don't know 100% because we haven't seen behind the scenes, but if the vibe of the film is anything to take away from it, you can tell that these people maybe there's not as much chemistry there.
Yeah.
That people like Viggo Mortensen was like he's super nerdy, he's super into it. Everyone on that cast and crew like cared about each other and cared about the process and the movie. Yeah. And then with this work versus Rings of Power, there's a much higher chance that they're kind of in it for the paycheck. Plus all the pressure that money puts on you.
Oh yeah.
Like there's when all that money is involved, there's going to be a lot of pressure from the top down to succeed and to come up with a product that's going to sell.
This is going to be the most expensive show ever. So I'm thinking, what happens when they put this out and it's terrible and it's eviscerated with the reviews? Like it has an average of like 2.5 at the high end.
Oh, no. I really don't want that to happen. I hope it succeeds.
I really do hope, but it would be a nice slap in the face of Jeff Bezos.
Anyway, like, screw it. I'm going to stick to making weird rockets.
Take down your bridges so I can drive my yacht through it.
I'm the good guy of this story.
I'm going to save humanity, not that Elon Musk character. But House of the Dragon came out. So this is in production. This is so look, Rings of Power is going to be released in September. September, just no real release date. September of 2022, so it's going to be this year. However, House of the Dragon is technically just going to be released in 2022, so it could be this year.
When in 2022? Yes.
Yes, exactly. So the House of the Dragon takes place hundreds of years before the events of Game of Thrones that we saw.
Yeah,
it takes place during the Dance of the Dragons, the major civil war before the War of the Five.
So there's still dragons around. Like Valerian the Black Dread is still alive, right?
He's dead.
Oh, he's dead. Okay.
Rhaegal.
Okay.
Rhaegal.
Wait, what?
Rhaegal. The so three dragons that landed with Aegon Targaryen. Rhaegal.
No, Rhaegal's one of Daenerys' dragons.
No, it was like
Meraxes? I think.
Oh, it was Meraxes.
Yeah, why don't we ask the internet?
Yeah, why don't we know this by heart?
Three dragons.
Valerian the Black Dread, Rhaegar,
Vagar,
and Meraxes. It's Meraxes that's still alive.
Okay, Meraxes. Okay.
Yeah, Meraxes is still alive.
I thought Meraxes died in Dorne.
Vagar. Maybe it's Vagar.
Does anyone else actually care about this besides us? Okay, first of all, I'm looking at the art on fucking Wiki of Ice and Fire, and it's just Alduin.
Yeah, it's Alduin.
Hey Jared, run and get the fucking what do you call it, the World of Ice and Fire real quick.
Yes.
All right, I'll entertain you guys. Okay, so we're looking at Meraxes, blah blah. Okay, yeah, Meraxes is dead. Died in Dorne in the First War. Okay.
We should really do our homework before we do this.
I'm doing like actual homework. I can't be doing homework for fake stuff.
Yeah. So
okay. So Vagar is in the Dance of the Dragons.
So this takes place during the Dance of the Dragons. This show was set.
Make sure I don't knock over that beer.
Yeah. Was set up and started production. I think 2 years after the last season of Game of Thrones. So what people are very interested in is because of how terribly that the show ended on. The Game of Thrones ended so poorly and so mal-reviewed. There's a lot riding on the House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
But these two, I am almost 100% sure that the House of the Dragon is going to be releasing in September or just before September.
Yeah, they're gonna duel it out. It'll be a dance of fantasies. So I got this. So this is the World of Ice and Fire. Great book. Love the artwork. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But so yeah, there it is. Great. If you can pick up a copy, I would suggest it. Let's see if I can find something like really knock your socks off good. Okay, look at. There's River Run. Really, really cool. Let's see.
And that's another thing.
Look at this guy. The freaking
Laughing Storm.
Look at that artwork. That's amazing.
Duncan the Tall.
But you turn to the first page. Looks cool, right? Wait, look closer. What the fuck is that? That's Alduin. They just copied and pasted Alduin 5 times on this.
Yeah. That's another thing. One of the things that people really liked about Game of Thrones was the world building. Each place seemed alive until like the very end when it was just between Winterfell and King's Landing. Mm-hmm. People really want to see more of Westeros.
Yeah, that's the thing about Game of Thrones is you got to inhabit that world. You got to like learn about the characters and places and things, which that's, and like you say, as it sort of became much more plot driven, it really just boiled down to like, okay, what's going on?
It became just essentially a drama.
Yeah,
it became Billions with dragons.
Yeah,
that's what I'm anticipating is going to be a duel of fates, which is going to be I think if I'm going to be betting on this, I'm going to say the Rings of Power is going to be painfully mild. It's just going to be a middling. It's just going to be like
the reviews are going to be, it was on film.
It was there. It showed up and it left.
It was a show. Like,
yes.
That was it.
Yeah, and I'd rather shows be terrible than just meh, because I keep talking about the Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's painfully forgettable.
Yeah.
Like, the only reason I keep remembering it is because it's the most average show I've ever seen in my life.
If it was a spice, it would be flour.
Exactly. If it was a book, it would be another book.
It is another book. It's several books.
It's several books.
That works so well.
It's so average. I've watched the entire season, and I don't know any of the characters' names.
Yeah. Honestly, also I've looked in, I've heard some reviews of the books themselves, and they're like, some people are like, oh, it's the most amazing fantasy series ever, but I've seen other ones that are like, okay, first one's really good, second, third one sucks, third one's really, fourth one's really good. It's like, I don't want to have to wait through 5 or 6 terrible books.
Exactly. So I think Rings of Power is going to be very average, and I think the House of the Dragon is going to be good, but it's just going to be weighed down by the fact it has to follow up Game of Thrones.
Right.
So I'm saying, like, if I had to grade it, it's Rings of Power is just going to be just a solid gray. It's just going to be beige.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even a number. It's actually just beige.
It's going to be a pair of khakis.
A pair of khakis and a polo shirt and a slab of meat, man. just in it. And then House of the Dragon, I think, is going to be a solid 6.5. Not good, not great. Just it's passable. It's just not. It should be better than it is.
Yeah.
The thing I want to end on one more note.
Okay, fine. What?
House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
It's gonna have a lot of dragons. Right?
Okay.
One of the biggest budget eaters of Game of Thrones was just the dragons.
Well, not only did they have the CG, they had to get the actors and actresses on there, make a big old green screen saddle for them to sit on, and like do the whoa, whoa.
The budget, it makes sense when it's like a movie, because it kind of all blends in, but you have to do a ton of scenes, ton of locations, ton of If you're gonna have multiple dragons, that's gonna eat a lot.
Make a movie and then spread it over 6 or 7 hours. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, are they gonna reuse the sets?
Probably. Yeah, they definitely are reusing the throne room.
Yeah, but
everything everything King's Landing, they're probably gonna reuse.
Yeah.
But also a lot of the stuff was shot on location.
Yeah. So a lot of locations were shot in Europe.
Oh.
Yeah. Season 2 might be difficult.
Okay. Well, let's.
Anyway, going on to the main subject and the meat of it all, because I can't bring up actual news.
Okay, well, we can, but that's not what we're here for. You can get your news from more reputable sources than us.
Yeah, and then a couple of internet dicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Well, we're going to talk about the last thing for H.P. Lovecraft month.
Which is
our favorite movies based on H.P. Lovecraft. So this is stuff that's not exactly Lovecraftian, but the influences are kind of there.
You can definitely tell there's cosmic horror just kind of sprinkled in there.
Just sprinkled in a little bit, just a little flavor.
Just a little scotch of that, yeah. So, I don't know, what do you want to go with first?
Well, I have to start with my favorite science fiction movies of all time, The Quatermass.
Quatermass. So this is, look, Quater, Quatermass. That's what they say in the movie. They call him Quatermass.
I refuse to say it.
So this is the poster for Quatermass 2. There's 3 Quatermass movies. Of my favorite is Quatermass in the Pit, but we'll get to that.
Yes. So essentially, Quatermass is a scientist. The first one, he's like more like a rocket scientist. He's literally a rocket scientist.
Yeah, he works with like nuclear physics and stuff.
But his specialty is specifically ships, on the design maintenance of rocket ships for propulsion upwards to the north. The north.
Yeah, I'm surprised this character didn't become more of a thing.
Yeah, the first one is actually very, very good. I won't spoil it for you, but it's probably one of the better movies from the '60s. So these are kind of older.
I think it was actually from the '50s. That one may
Yeah.
have been. Yeah, let's see here. Let's look it
But
up.
essentially, what these movies do is it's Lovecraftian for me because it's kind of like that cosmic horror, but it's got that science twist to it.
Yeah,
it's not just like, oh, it's like a cosmic horror and it's blah blah blah, like it's a god or whatever and it's magic. No, it's science. It's calculable. It's just horrifying.
Yeah,
the answers.
Exactly. So the Quatermass experiment, just experiment, was released in 1955.
Oh,
Quatermass 2, you see that there, was released in 1957. And let's see, blah blah.
Quatermass in the Pit was released in the '60s because it was in color.
Yeah.
Well, the first one I like the best because I think it's the best atmospheric horror.
Yeah.
Whereas the second Quatermass,
it's 1967, so it wasn't released until 10 years after the last.
That's
one.
why they recast the Quatermass.
Yeah.
So it also kind of interesting is after watching the movie, the first movie, Quatermass is kind of the bad guy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely in the first movie and kind of the second movie.
He's kind of more of he's much more of the hero in the second movie.
Yeah.
Because he takes a more active role. In the first movie, I think he's straight up the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a little bit like Reanimator in that he's just pursuing his scientific interests,
no matter the cost.
Yeah.
Yes. Quatermass 2 has my favorite scene though.
What's that?
Oh, so I won't spoil it too much. By the way, Quatermass 2 is basically a better version of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
Vision of the Body Snatchers. So he's at this compound. He and a couple of guys are held up in this room, basically being besieged by the Body Snatched. And some guys decide to go and give up.
Yeah.
And they're pumping this room where the main alien thing is full of oxygen, which is dangerous, which kills the alien, basically. And the guys outside have no way of stopping it.
Yeah.
So the guys that give up, go with the bad guys off, and then Quatermass and the rest of the guys are like, should we give up too? Blah blah blah. Maybe we should just give up. It won't be so bad. And then they hear some screams through the pipes, and then their oxygen is stopped somewhere, and they figure out that the bad guys use the two guys that left with them as they
put them in the pipes.
Put them in the pipes,
and you start to see the pipes start to leak. Oh yeah,
blood. Yeah,
so fucking.
But they said, and Quatermass says they used human pulp in order to stop the flow of oxygen. And I was just like, that is such good horror, right there. You don't see it. It's literally tell, don't show, and it works better.
Yeah. And it was the 50s, so you really couldn't show things super horrible. But apparently, it looks like in something like that. I don't know if you could find a 1950s American movie that showed shit like that.
No. And it worked really well.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we go into Quatermass in the Pit.
Quatermass.
Whatever.
So this is Quatermass in the Pit's my favorite. I remember seeing it when I was probably 8, and it scared the ever-living bejesus out of me.
It scared the shit out of me, too.
Yeah, so...
The sounds that the Martians made.
Yeah, so basically... Okay, spoiler alert coming up.
Yeah,
so
this is a major spoiler. If you guys don't want this movie spoiled, I highly recommend you watch it, first of all. It's a great movie, and you should watch it.
All right, doing a quick pause, because people are going to go watch the movie and come back. Welcome back. So... All right, I'm going to try not to spoil it, actually. But basically, it starts off that in London, they're digging a new tube system, subway system.
That in English, that means
the tube.
Subway.
Yes, exactly. The boot is the trunk. Put things in the boot. And they come across this strange, they think it's a bomb, but then they start excavating it, and they realize it's a strange... ship. It's a ship. It's a spaceship. The viewer, we can see it's a spaceship. Mm-hmm. And they start, unraveling this mystery. And Quatermass comes in, and they're it shows them basically scientifically trying to figure out how this, what this thing is. And by the time the end of the movie, things just go completely sideways and completely supernatural. And like like Jared said, it's still scientific. Like
it's all scientific. Like, actually,
but,
there's nothing mystical about it.
But the horror still comes from what you don't know, because like basically Quatermass and the main characters are able to put together what's happening, but you don't know why it's happening or like any of these other answers. Like
or like if it could happen again.
Like to this day, like I've still got like answers that 8-year-old Jimmy did not get, answered back then, and I want to figure it out. Like, why were these creatures there? Like, what was that mass in the sky, basically? Yeah, and I'd say it's very Lovecraftian because it's very atmospheric, it's very cosmic, and like you say, there is more of an answer to it, but like the blanks in your knowledge are just so vast when it comes to this horror, which I think is actually kind of cool because it's a little bit like a play on the like actual scientists, because scientists can understand very well most about things, but the gaps in knowledge can still be pretty substantial, and that's what they're working to that's what they work to try and fill.
Yeah, especially like nowadays, it'd be really, really scary to get every like expert on like aliens and spaceships and stuff get into a room, see something, and then like ask them, well, what is it? And they're just like,
exactly.
It's just like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, like that'd be funny. Like you get like from like full on scientists to like just conspiracy theorists. Like they all go and like check out the spaceship, and they're like, what is it? I don't know.
Yeah. Even like, the conspiracy theorists would just be like, I'm drawing a blank here.
Yeah, like they but that's the thing. Like it also kind of is a little topical because the military gets involved, and then semi disinformation comes up, I guess. Yeah, so I don't know. Watch it. Think
Watch it for yourself. It's definitely worth it.
Hell yeah.
So the next one we gotta talk about. We don't talk about it enough. Lovecraft Country.
We don't talk about Lovecraft Country. No.
Oh, Lovecraft Country. Highly topical, first of all. And everything about it is great, honestly.
Yeah.
The acting, the production, the stories. So I didn't actually like the show at first at all.
Yeah, it took a little bit for me to like get into like, okay, what is it exactly that I'm watching here?
Yeah. So they didn't, when they set out to like create this and write the stories, I thought, okay, first of all, it was going to be about Lovecraft, basically.
Right.
It's just going to be Lovecraftian stuff. However, and then I was kind of like disappointed when it was not really that. But then I kind of realized after reading about it, they were actually going for a more of a vibe from the like 60s pulp fictions.
Yeah.
Instead of just straight up Lovecraft. And it made a lot more sense to me. It gave me like a lot of more things clicked. I was just like, oh, it made it a lot better. That's like one of the things like I usually don't like to know a lot of things going into like shows. I like to see for myself. But if I knew that from the beginning that that's what they were going for, everything would have clicked instantaneously.
Exactly. And like you said, like so Lovecraft Country, it when we started off this series of Lovecraft episodes talking about Lovecraft's racism and the idea that we have to understand and live with that, but Lovecraft Country very well like kind of takes that it's in 1950s America. Jonathan Majors plays an African American man who just got back from the Korean War. So they not only encounter supernatural occurrences, they encounter racism and the actual horrors that people in this country faced.
Yeah.
So it it very well also addresses that racism. It's like, okay, with our, people like Lovecraft, we have to address the fact that there was racism. We have to address that, that history that comes along with all of that.
That these people faced dangers that weren't otherworldly. They were very much real, and they were very much of the time.
Yeah, and honestly, like the when they have scenes where they're being chased by people out of a sundown town type things, and like those situations are just as if not more horrible than like a Shoggoth showing up.
Exactly. Because it's real.
Yeah.
These people existed. Like Shoggoths, they never existed. They never will exist. But these sundown towns still kind of exist.
Yeah. Or like I'd say the scariest episode for me overall was the ghost episode.
I have not. I love the series, but I didn't watch it past the first 2 episodes.
All right.
Unfortunately.
So I think which one was that? So it was pretty.
Holy Ghost.
Yeah, it was. It was episode 3. It was kind of a smaller episode. It wasn't like it didn't have as much to do with like the vast things going on. And
It was more of a bottle episode.
yeah, but a little bit more. But it involved the ghosts of these people who are all African Americans who had been killed in this house. And like again, you have to think about the racism that would bring about that situation. And it was just the way that they set up and they present the ghosts. It's just horrible, and you can't look away. But it's way more scary than just say like a Shoggoth or a Cthulhu showing up, basically. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. It's hard to talk about Lovecraft Country too. Why we were trying to figure out why it didn't get another season.
Yeah. Well, it's also not probably for everybody because it deals with actual themes of racism and stuff. So it's not like it would be. A lot of people would want to watch that.
It's a difficult watch.
It is a difficult watch sometimes.
Yeah,
but
highly recommend.
Highly recommend. What are your favorite monsters and creatures from that show?
Okay, so I mentioned Shoggoths a couple of times. So these are not the Shoggoths from Lovecraft.
Because in Lovecraft, like writings, they're more like giant amoebas that can like form eyes and mouths whenever they want.
Exactly, and these are more like, how would you describe them? They're like gorilla meets a vampire thing. Like you can see the thing.
Yeah. So basically, if someone gets bitten by one of these things, they turn into a Shoggoth, which is a basic hulking thing with a lot of eyes.
Yeah.
The noises they make are really good.
Yeah.
They did a great job on the sound design for that.
Yeah. Honestly, though, I'd say that as far as the monsters go, that's the least scary part of the movie, of the show. Yeah. The human monsters are probably the scariest thing, but the shots, and I'm not broken up that like, oh, these don't look like the Shoggoths from Lovecraft, because they are, like you say, Lovecraft isn't, is not real in this world. Like, so it makes sense that like they just call it that because like, oh, it's a monster from Lovecraft. We'll just name these after it.
Yeah. And of course, Lovecraft always wanted you to use other creators to use his work as a baseline, not as a holy Bible. So it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, and so we gotta talk about the scariest monsters / demons of the whole show. Okay. For me, in my opinion, that was Topsy and Bopsy. Ooh. So I'm gonna show you. Jarrett hasn't seen this scene, but I'm gonna show you afterwards.
Yeah.
So, spoiler alert.
Okay.
Spoiler alert. So Diana, young girl played by. Geez, sorry, I'm looking at the cast right now, trying to. Diana.
Maybe just go back to cast.
Oh wait, here we are. Played by Jada Harris.
Jada Harris.
Yep. So she's young girl. She gets cursed by this corrupt magical police officer, and she starts seeing these demons, Topsy and Bopsy, who are based after the character Topsy from Uncle Tom's Cabin. Yeah. So this is gonna get like a little bit political here.
Yeah.
So this works on like so many levels, because Diana is like up to this point like she's like kind of trying to figure things out while her parents are are like not really paying attention right now because they're dealing with supernatural threats, right? So she's trying to figure this out by herself, and she's being as strong as she can, and she's going up against like this corrupt police officer by herself and being strong through the whole thing, but this curse is making her see these demons like basically stalk her, like It style.
Yeah.
No one else can see them. And she's basically running from them this whole time. Like they are trying to get her, and you don't know why until the very end. And they're based after Topsy, who was sort of a, not a caricature, but in Uncle Tom, again, this is going to be a little bit, topical here. So in Uncle Tom's Cabin, the character Topsy was a, black girl who was not raised by anybody. She basically was like, grew up just by herself in the streets. Mm. And so she had like, the rags and the matted hair and stuff. And she was very like, she wasn't like mentally challenged, but she had never learned anything. So she was, she was kind of a, feral. Yeah. But she was, she was sweet, but she wasn't intelligent. And in the novel, it was kind of like a tragic figure, basically. Like, she's happy, but like, this is what happens when you do this to people.
Right.
Now, fast forward a bit, they had these things called minstrel shows, which were these. Yeah, okay, we're getting really topical here, but you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
So in the South, they would have these minstrel shows where white people would play black characters. And one of them was, the Topsy type character. But in these minstrel shows, they were kind of like semi-rehabilitating the idea of these
It was basically racism. It made a bunch of white people playing blackface more racist, essentially, by destroying the point of the characters.
Yeah, and so they took this character Topsy, instead of making her a tragic figure, made her more of like a clown figure in these plays.
Yeah.
So this character has become sort of a symbol of extreme racism, basically, and this is what's chasing this girl Diana. Like she's trying to be strong through this whole thing, but she's being chased not only by a supernatural threat, but it takes the form of
the corruption of a actual African American tragic figure in order to stop racism, and it turns it into something harmful.
Exactly. So,
woof.
Oh, also, we're gonna get so canceled for bringing this up.
I just want to say one thing. I love Abbott and Costello movies a lot, and one of their movies that I love was ruined because they have just like minstrel shows in it too for absolutely no reason. They just have it. It's stupid as fuck.
That and Holiday Inn with Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire.
Yeah.
Like Fred Astaire, like as far as I can tell, Fred Astaire was like a super unproblematic bloke. Like but for some reason there's just this. It's bad. It's bad. All right.
Yeah. So we're not trying to cancel anything, but we understand, like, things that we like change based on what we learn, and of course, as we grow, we see things like the Abbott and Costello stuff. When I can watch them do the Who's on First Base skit all the time, but then in the background, I realize where that movie is.
Yeah,
and especially in history.
And honestly, like I didn't know the history behind this character until I saw Lovecraft Country. So to ignore that character and not bring it up, it would be doing a disservice to the writers and the people who made this show, who wanted to bring it to people like me, my attention.
Excellent writers.
Yes.
Excellent. Did a phenomenal job.
So they made this character who symbolizes racism in a extra scary. I'll show you the scene afterwards, but it was played by two young girls who were dancers, and their movements are unsettling.
First of all, dancers in horror movies are the best because Dog Soldiers, one of the best werewolf movies of all time. Mm-hmm. They're all dancers.
Really?
Yeah. Dancers make the best monsters in horror movies.
Did you know that the guy who played the child catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was a ballet dancer?
Yes, I did know that.
And did you know the story from on set?
No.
So basically, they had those, the wagons.
Yeah.
So during one of the scenes, one of the wagons like tipped over and was like careening towards him, basically.
Yeah.
And he just, as a ballet dancer, just like doop, 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 just jumped over it and like landed like freaking Spider-Man, basically. So he leapt over this wagon as it was careening towards him and just tiptoed over it.
Wow.
And so like just the image of fucking the child catcher having superhuman agility, it unsettles me to no end.
I'm not a child, but I would not go anywhere near the child catcher.
No, like, yeah, I mean, if the king of that country in Chitty Bang Bang was real, like years before, other countries would have like put him on trial for human rights abuses just for having that guy.
And let's say he actually like succeeded. Within 20 years, their entire country would be coming to a grinding halt.
He's basically making children of men happen in his country for no reason.
So let's say you're considered a child at like 14.
Yeah.
Okay. You get captured by the child catcher. You get put in prison, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
But then do you stay there, like in the little grotto with a swimming area for like 2 years when you like you can be drafted and pay taxes, or do you stay there forever? And
so in about like 10 years, he's going to have a whole swarm of 18-year-old mole people coming up out of the ground.
You just created Peter Pan.
Yeah, exactly.
You just Peter Panned yourself.
Okay, so let's move on, shall we?
Yes. Next one, Carnival Row is actually pretty Lovecraftian.
Oh hell yeah!
It's pretty much just fantasy. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So I'd say it's very well done fantasy. So it's a lot
Yes.
of the tropes and a lot of the character types that we're used to.
I would say it's almost steampunk fantasy.
Yeah, but what really, honestly, the plot and stuff, you can take it or leave it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the plot, lots of twists and turns. But what really makes this show shine for me is the actors and the chemistry they have.
And the world is, of course, as well.
Oh yeah, the set building, the aesthetics are amazing. But like Orlando Bloom, Cara Delevingne, for some reason they just click so well. Jared Harris thrown in, like honestly, one of the most moving scenes I've ever seen in my life was when Jared Harris was talking to Orlando Bloom's character, and they're like, spoiler alert, when he's talking to Orlando Bloom's character, and he's talking about like, his personal history and everything. Whatever. I'm not going to spoil it. Go watch it if you haven't. But like, this is an excellent Amazon show.
All the Amazon shows that are like really bland tend to be from Amazon, but this show is like bussin' with life and like charisma. I love it.
Exactly.
But the thing that is actually very Lovecraftian is in fact the Dark Asher.
Yeah. So, hella spoiler right here.
Yes.
I think in like the second episode you actually see it though.
Kind of. It's basically this. It's basically a homunculi.
So it's a
golem.
It's a flesh golem.
It's a flesh golem, but it's really cool because it's like a Frankenstein's monster with magic. It's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, and so this is kind of this whole show is kind of a noir, fantasy noir basically.
But it's Game of Thrones.
It's Game of Thrones. Yeah.
It's like everything about even the sister banging. It's Game of Thrones.
Yeah, this was right about the time where they were like just sprinkle that little tidbit into like every show that they were making for some reason.
Yeah, like Taboo. Just every show.
You said Billions. Does Billions have that?
Probably.
Okay.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, so it was. We noticed like it was kind of a feature of shows for a little bit.
Yeah, let's get rid of that. That's something we should get rid of.
Yeah, that should die in the 2010s. Okay.
We're not in the 2010s anymore. We're in the 2020s.
We're so goddamn old. Yeah, exactly. It should die back in the 2010s.
Okay.
What's going on?
Yeah.
What else we got?
Well, did you have a couple?
I had one.
Okay.
Okay, so this is no supernatural stuff whatsoever. No, it's no supernatural stuff. What do you want from me? Okay. So this show was True Detective. The first season specifically. I haven't really finished the second season, but the first season specifically was Chef Kiss. Like this is one of the TV shows. Like this is what TV should be.
Mm-hmm.
Like every single episode had like a it's strung together to like build on layers of the story. And not only that, it wasn't just like it wasn't plot driven. It was like very subtle, very allegorical. Very smart stuff. And honestly, like I said, there was nothing supernatural going on.
Yeah.
It was all human beings. It's all very humanistic, very realistic horror. And it was and very Lovecraftian. Like you hear like the term Carcosa and the Yellow King in Yellow come up a lot.
It's the Yellow King, not the King in Yellow. They never say it's never specified as the King in Yellow. That's Hastor. It's just the Yellow King.
All right, yeah. So basically, it is very noir. It is very well done though, and like honestly, it's my one complaint with this is that like okay, like I said, everything's very allegorical. Thanks, Billy Gordoni, for your strange comment. So it is very allegorical. So like you watch all these episodes and like I had to strain to remember like why that was important, why certain things were important, why certain things like were allegorical. But highly recommend.
Yeah. The cult aspect is very Lovecraftian. The secret cults and worshippers and stuff, and that's what True Detective did really well. Yeah, and like just throughout the season, just the more questions that were answered, the more questions you had. Yeah.
Exactly. So, which is very Lovecraftian.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think that we're near the end here. Yeah, we're at about the end. So.
Yeah, when the bots start coming in.
Yeah.
We start.
Greetings.
Wunderbar.
Wunderbar, yeah.
Putin is great.
Yeah, no thanks.
So this is the end of Lovecraft Month. Thank you guys so much
For bearing with us.
bearing with us on this. It was a long month.
Yeah. Lovecraft is not an easy subject to get into.
No.
You know what? But much like there's a lot of is things that maybe we don't want to talk about as much, but
it's important.
Much like the Marvel universe, the Lovecraft universe has room for everybody, no matter your race, creed, color, orientation, whatever. Like that, it is for everybody.
Absolutely.
The only thing there isn't room for is hate, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness.
The only thing you hate is the stuff that's in it.
Exactly. Yes.
Like the monsters and the cults.
On our side, there's no room for hate, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. On their side, the only thing there's room for is the despair of cosmic horror.
Which is endless.
Yes.
Which is endless, of course.
Yes. Okay. So, thank you guys so much for watching.
What? Holy horses.
Okay, fine. God.
Hold on to it. So next week will be our regular shows where we're going to be having a special theme and of course a Multiverse Madness matchup because March is coming up and we're going to have our brackets soon for who wins what. Some will be gods. So we're going to have to come up with scenarios for when the Morgoth has to go up against like Captain Hook.
Oh, yeah, no, it was like Morgoth and then probably someone like, I don't know, Jason.
Jason or something. We'll come up with something. And of course, if you guys have a topic or questions you'd like us to answer on air, please just message us on our Facebook or Instagram. You can even check us out on our TikToks.
That's right.
And of course, if you have a question or comment, leave the comment and question that you want with your name and preferred pronoun, and we will answer it. And thank you again to Big Nerd Coffee Company that have sponsored this episode and put up with our shenanigans.
That's right. We'll keep those shenanigans going.
Yes.
Okay, anything else?
No. Now we can end it.
Okay, now we can end. All right, thank you guys so much for watching.